60 minutes, what I'm gonna do is I want to, change my the camera into the more movement camera in order to show around the printer and how you, operate the printer. The reason I decided today to not to go over like technical or service session, but more likely an application usage is because these days, those printer gets more, the high stability. So it's not really, hey, breaking completely and then machine won't turn on something like that. Or, printed missing like a chunk of the missing nozzles. Those printer is really stable. So we have really less chance to, work on the machinery unless you do some mistake during your, servicing, like, plugging the, cable to wrong places, or you put an ink bottle to different color, and then you really, shocked like how long it takes to, the repair it. But overall, we as the Mimaki Australia service department, we spending lots of hours and hours and hours after we install the machine because customers don't even know what they are doing with this machine and what machine can do, right? So me personally, well, it's probably sad that I haven't been able to put this on a piece of paper as a standardization of their customers in education. But me personally, when I go to customer for training this, I first question before we actually start doing something, what's your main application is, right? Someone say, oh, I'm gonna just print vinyl, and print and cut, all right? That's good answer for me. So I can estimate how the training can be done by 4 hours, maximum 6 hours. Sometimes people say that the, oh, I want to print because my boss has lots of job with white window graphics. All right, I've got ideas. All right, but without asking those questions, as the service technician who normally operate and show how to use the machine, how you operate the machine, you won't have any idea from customers' input. On the end, you need to spend the time for, hey, printers usage, operational, and the maintenance, and then doing a print and cut, doing a 2 layers, doing 3 layers, doing 5 layers, start doing a 5 layers print and cut, and doing an ID cut, with print and cut or with printer and cut those things. So it's not only that we take lots of hours for training, but customer will lose the focus of what they are going to be trained. So as technically, or as my personal opinion, before you start doing, hey, I'm going to show you an operation, then the print and cut next, 3 layers next, you ask the customer, what's your main application or what's your prospect or potential application is in your business. Because if you're telling 5 layers, customer won't use 5 layers, they will just forget within 3 months, and they will call you that, hey, I know machine can do 4 layers. What can I do? So customer, just think that we are just advising and we are able to advise everything on the phone, which is not possible. So you need to go to the customer, and even customer is asking, hey, you've got 3 layers trained me, but you haven't showed me print and cut, because print and cut is my most using application is. So it's like so on the end, long story short, first question you should ask, you must ask to the customer is what's your main application is to be trained, and the customer is honest, they will tell you. Or if customer is not sure because they are casual employee, then you ask shop owner, hey, machine has that much things can do, but you can be honest, hey, I don't think that this customer is not doing this 70% of the thing. You can be honest in front of the customer, because customer also doesn't want to take lots of time for the training. So your target for normally is okay, machine installation, operation training, and customers and application training to be minimized to maximum 2 days. Don't spend more than 2 days. If you are spending more than 2 days for this whole installation process, you are not doing right thing. I can say that. So bear in mind that it's important to tell the customer what they are doing rather than telling what machine can do, right? All right, let's start. Just showing some thing, from a product guide for regards to the machine specifications. Right, machine configuration. The printer, every single printer comes with a kit of Rasterlink 6 Plus in the box. If you are missing it, please call Mimaki technical support. So we are going to distribute the replacement if it's missing. But I'm seeing 0 case out of 400 machines shipped out, which is missing. The customer needs to prepare the computer that Rasterlink 6 installed to. And this is recommended specification. You don't need $6,000 of a laptop or desktop. It can be done by a laptop, okay? But you need to have either USB 2.0 or Ethernet, support for the gigabit, 1000 base T. As a printhead configuration, all right, this is one of the point which is important as a technical point of view as well. We don't have UCJV150 with one head model anymore because we changed to UCJV100 series 6 months ago. So we are not even talking about that. UCJV300, we've got 2 types of ink, LUS 170 and 200. Either Mimaki original ink to support the work closer with AV rather than 3M, or we've got LUS 200 made by 3M and has an MCS performance guarantee with 3M products. Both inks you can put 4 colors, so CMYK and double, for maximum 26 square meters of per hour productivity. On LUS 170, you can do 6 color plus white. So if you put the white, you need to put the light cyan, light magenta, or clear, which is a varnish ink. Recently, most of the customers go with 4 color plus clear and white. The issue is the customer don't have any job, even putting a clear. So clear ink just keeps expiring. So some customer, they need to think additional 10 minutes, whether they can, they should get the light cyan, light magenta, or clear. Because it can be interchanged later on, as long as the customer spend like a $2,000 of the service job, they can switch over from 6 color to the clear, by technician's job. So you don't need to fix it. Hey, what I'm gonna be running for next 5 years or so. So it's interchangeable as long as technician, according to a technician and organize the necessary service. We've got white ink also for LUS 200 4 color, but we don't have light cyan, light magenta, or clear on LUS 200. So you need to put 2 cyan, 2 magenta, and 1 yellow, 1 black along with the white, because we don't support clear to put with the LUS 200. Because majority of 200 ink is flexibility. As soon as you put the clear ink onto 200, you will miss the flexibility. But the customer don't believe that we are not missing flexibility, so they still are trying to expand it. But the clear ink is the first ink which breaks, because LUS 170 is 170% flexible for only color and white. But the clear is, it's just up to 170, but it's slightly less flexible as than the colors. So you will see that the clear cannot be put with the LUS 200. The other tips you need, that you should be aware of is there are lots of customers and people is putting LUS 200 white to combine with LUS 170, CMYK, or clear. The reason for it is for window graphic application, right? For window graphic application, what people does is they put the water with detergent onto the window. They put a printed film onto the window, and then they just cut on the side. They flip it over and putting into the window, the film, printed film, and they start squeezing. At that moment, what's going to happen is the water starts contacting to a printed side of the film. LUS 170 white is higher ratio of ink to be softened if it's contaminated with water. So what's going to happen is if customer has the plastic squeeze and start squeezing the water white ink, white ink with the water ink contaminate, then it start scraping, not really scraping, it really start rubbing the white ink to peel off, or they are making a mess on the printed surface. That happens a lot 3 years ago. But now we have LUS 200 white, which is stronger water resistance put with the LUS 170. So at least these, the white ink can be protected or can be strengthened, can be stronger with white. But however, this is one of the warning that if even you put the LUS 200 ink, it's not completely durable with water. As long as you have a white ink pigment on UV, it softens the ink. So you really need to avoid, squeezing the white ink. So my best way to avoid this situation is using the squeeze with a roller shape, not a plate shape. All right. So this is my one advice, because people think that LUS 170 white isn't working because it's softened by water. Then using LUS 200, that people's mindset is being easier. So they think that it's perfect ink for this, but it's not. So it's still, it's probably 20 to 30% stronger than LUS 170 white, but still, possibly scrapes out or softened by water. So you need to think about how you permanently, avoid this situation. So what's the other page? This was explained. This is just an example of a four layers print, the day and night. So you can have lots of idea, whether having a same shape of the data, like this cosmetic lady, to have a different color on the backside, or you can have the all secret, photograph, the design on the backside and making that, the aggressive change. This page is just showing, what's how the different, the ink work between eco-solvent ink and UV ink, but I'm not going to explain the individual things. Right, ID we will go through later on the software. Everyone, well, most of the people, I also explained an hour ago that what's the benefit of an ID cut? Yes, it can automatically pull the cutting data from a computer, the comparing to what, you need to go back to computer to send the individual cutting data. That's part of it. But what's the biggest benefit from this work efficiency, the work efficiency point of view is this. If you've got different data, right? You can imagine if you have a different data, because if you've got the same data for 50 times, you can just tell a software, hey, I've got a 50 times ready to go. Then it will do 50 times, no problem. But if you've got the all different jobs, next to it, then this is a time that normally operator you need to send each data from computer individual times. So they need to stick in front of a computer, for 50 meters of roll. But having ID cut function, so the printer, the cutting head will read the individual data. and the rotation, one by one. And what's the beauty is after it's finishing a first job, then it starts searching the next job, right? So it enables you to do all the different jobs to be done as automatically. All right. What's the benefit? Well, what are the point to explain is probably this, right? Single layer printing speed, UCJV300 160. If you've got a CMYK double, the maximum speed you can get is a 26 square meters an hour, right? If you have got the white ink but only printing colors, where's that? Only printing colors. Where's that? That's okay. Only printing colors, it will just do half, which is 13 square meters for UCJV300. Because instead of having two sets of CMYK, it only has one set of CMYK. Even having a light magenta, light cyan, it gives you half speed. So it's a 13 square meters an hour. Right? If you do multi-layers, for example, 2 layers printing, so it's a white and color. So it gives you the about half of a production speed of a 13, so which is a little bit over than 5 square meters an hour, because not only which half the speed, but it also needs for white printing, you need to have a more pass count in order to make a solid color to be consistent, not like a banding or inconsistency in zone. So you need you need to shrink to the 5 square meters an hour. But what's good is, remember, or if you know about, if you do white and color printing with the eco solvent and latex printer, it will be at least 5 times less speed than the colored printing, because after printing a white ink on solvent or latex print, you need to have the drying capability before color ink goes top of each other's. So if you have gotten CMYK print speed is 10 square meters, you probably see the maximum 3 square meters for white and color printing, because you need a drying capability. But for UV printing, because ink, between white ink and color ink, there's no drying time is required. So it will print instantly between white and color on the white. So this is the gap, the less gap happening between printing a color and printing a white and color. Just some people questions about the hey, what's the difference of outdoor the longevity or durability of a print on UV? Well, some people say, without looking at any reference, hey, solvent is the most strongest, the most longevity on the industry. Well, it's not for Mimaki. If you do solvent ink and Elias 170 ink, well, yellow ink is a little bit lower than the low or less durability than the solvent ink. But if you compare that the magenta, cyan, and black ink, which is high, the high density of the color, it's really equivalent, comparing to solvent. So you can really say that's the it's got the equivalent and outdoor durability of it. All right, about the NCU NRS, the nozzle check unit and nozzle recovery system as a standard equipment. These days, all Mimaki's printer, has embedded or included nozzle check unit and nozzle recovery system. What it does is, basically it checks the missing nozzles, after, printing a certain, amount. As long as you enable the setting on, and then if it's missing, the machine will try the, the physical recovery with, the printed cleaning. But after that, if it's missing a same nozzle, it's, that has a software mapping, the remapping, which we call a nozzle recovery system, in order to print, not showing any missing nozzles on the printing. So basically, the purpose of this is it's reducing the downtime. In our legacy model, like a JV3, JV33s, when the 2 or 3 missing starts missing, then people need to call a service department, service engineer to come to replace the head. But it normally takes 2 to 3 days minimum in order to get a service technician on site. But for these printers, you can still get the acceptable quality with less the productivity sometimes. And then after you call into a service department to book a service, you can still print the normally until the service engineer arrives. The white circulation is really popular these days, not only Mimaki's, but what's good in Mimaki is Mimaki, the white circulation system also circulates the ink in the sub-tank, not only ink pipes or the white ink bottle. Other thing, just look at the the product guide which I sent you the PDF on with training invitations, right? Then I think it's time to